Welcome back. So, in today's session, we'll discuss about access control matrix. We simply call it as ACM. So, in information security, the access control matrix or an ACM is a fundamental concept used to represent and enforce access control policies within a system. So, the ACM provides a structured way of defining and manipulating permissions for accessing resources such as files, directories, database, or other system resources. Typically, the matrix consists of rows representing like users or process, and the column represents the objects like files or devices, with each cell indicating the permission or access right that the subject has on an object. As a real world example, in a company, the ACM might show the allies can read, write a file, Bob can only read it, and Carol has no access at all. And subjects in access control matrix is the next. Subjects are entities within the system that can access requests to the resources. Subjects can include user, process, groups, or any other entities that interact with the system. As an example, so in a university system, subjects could be student, faculty, or administrative staff that are even requiring a different levels of access to the academic records. Next comes the objects and access rights. Objects are the resources within the system that are being protected. Objects include files, directories, device, network resources, or other systems resources that require access control. And access rights are a permission specify that actions that the subject is allowed or denied to perform on an object. Common access rights include read, write, execute, delete, create, modify, and control. As a real-time example, a student may have a read-only access to the exam results, while a professor has both read as well as a write to the enter the grades. Next comes the matrix structure. So the access control matrix is typically represented in a two-dimension matrix with rows for subjects and column for the objects. So each cell in the matrix consists of the access right that the subject has an object. So this structure allows for a clear organization representation of the permission across all the user and the resources in the system. For a real-time example, in a spreadsheet, each row represents a user and each column represents a file with a cell value showing the what actions are allowed. Next come the access control entries. So each cell in the access control matrix contain the access control entry, we call it as ACE, that specifies the permission granted to a subject of a object. ACE may include information such as object's identity, the object's access rights granted. The detailed mapping allows the precise control over who can do what with each resources. As a real-world example, an ACE might state the users John can read and write to the document but cannot delete it. Next comes the access control policies. So this access control policies defines the rules and criteria used to determine the access rights in the access control matrix. So these policies specify which subjects are allowed to access which object under what conditions. Policy may be based on the rules, attributes, or other organizational requirement. As a real world example, a policy might specify other only managers can access the salary information while the employee can access the company's directory. Next comes the access control enforcement. So this control mechanism within the system enforces the access of control policies defined in the matrix. So this mechanism ensures that the subjects can only perform actions on the object for which they have been explicitly granted permissions. If a subject attempts an unauthorized action, the subject denies the access and may log the attempt for auditing. As a real world example, if an employee tries to delete a file they don't have the permission for, the system blocks and the action and the records that they attempt. And next is access control models. So access control matrix can be implemented using various access control models such as directory access control, we call it as DAC, mandatory access control, we call it as MAC, role-based access control, we call it as RBAC, and attribute-based access control, we call it as ABAC. As a real world example, a hospital may use RBAC to ensure the doctor, nurses, and the administrative staff have appropriate access based on their role. And next comes the summary of the access control matrix. In this summary, the access control matrix is a powerful tool for managing and enforcing permission in an information system. So it provides a clear and organized way to specify who can access what and what action that they can perform. By implementing the ACM, organization can protect sensitive resources, ensuring the compliance with the policies and reduce the risk of the unauthorized access. As a real world example, a large enterprise use ACMs to manage the complex access permission, access the thousands and thousands of users and the resources, ensuring only authorized actions are permitted. So this is the end of the slide, and we'll meet you in the another new topic. Thank you all.